Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mangus, and today I got a very wholesome match for you guys. So I was looking through my submitted games, just prowling for some entertaining games to cast for the channel, and I got one that really stood out. And it basically went something like this. Hey Mangs, this is not a high-level match. It may even be a little bit of a boring match, but I played my dad on Advanced Wars by Web, and I would be honored if you could cast our match. How could I refuse? I mean, that is just too adorable. So I will cast your game on one condition. You have to go and get your dad, and you guys have to watch this together. Those are my terms. Can you do that? All right, pause the game. Go get your dad. Watch the game together. Now, I'm going to assume that you guys are not super familiar with competitive Advanced Wars because you're both 800s. So I'm going to try and explain this like I'm speaking to beginners. Like, apologies if some of you actually do know stuff about competitive Advanced Wars, but I'm going to try and cast this as a beginner level match, if you guys don't mind. So already I'm seeing here that there's a bit of a disparity here. So in case you're wondering, Chunk Slug is the son, and Carlos Summer is the dad. They're both 800. Haven't really seen them play a lot on the site, so I'm going to assume that maybe their only experience with the game is playing on the cartridge. Might very well be their first match, but I don't really know. So, so already we can see that we have a bit of an imbalance here. Andy versus Sturm. Now, Sturm is very changed on Advanced Wars by Web compared to the cartridge. He uses his Advanced Wars 1 versus mode rule set, which is he gets more defense but less firepower. So he's nerfed, but he's still considered one of the strongest COs in the game. The dad picked Andy, which that's a good CO pick, I think, for any kind of matchup. Now, dad and son. In case you don't know, there's something called tier lists, and the COs are not the same, which I think you probably know. So tier 0 is the strongest, tier 4 is the weakest. So the son picked a tier 0 CO, and the dad picked a tier 3 CO. So there's quite a power imbalance between the two players here. But I will say one thing. Out of all of the tier 3 COs that can go up against Sturm, I think Andy probably has the best odds, because Sturm struggles to kill things, which is good for Andy because he likes to repair. And also, Andy can somewhat offset a Meteor Strike with his Hyper Upgrade. It's still an imbalanced matchup, don't get me wrong. Sturm is still a lot better, but I think Andy is the best tier 3 CO to try and take a game off him. They're also playing on a map called Missed Connections. I hope that doesn't apply to the father-son relationship. And this is a very complicated map. It's a Global League map. Stealth Fighter Span. It's pretty standard, no day limit. They're not playing a live game here, they're playing a regular standard match. But Misconnections is a very complicated map. Lots of forests, which obviously favors Sturm quite a bit. But it's also an air-centric map. Battlecopters are very good on this map, because there's a lot of mountains that they can dart behind, a lot of forests to slow down anti-air. Now, Sturm isn't necessarily known for having good air units. In fact, he really doesn't like to build battlecopters because they're so weak, and he gets perfect movement on his vehicles anyway. So, I mean, not saying he never builds air units. It's just that he likes vehicle combat a lot more. But yeah, it's a map where it's very wide. It's an insanely wide map. But the distance between the bases is not long. So you're spread out over this incredibly wide surface, and then there's usually 3 fronts. There's one here, and then one here. So one comm tower on the map, which is good for Sturm. Andy would prefer it if there were no comm towers, because that makes it easier for him to keep his units alive. And HQs are not super exposed, but they are somewhat in the center. So you gotta be careful. Sturm can actually kind of sneak up on you sometimes and actually do an HQ cap. So definitely need to be careful. Anyway, let's watch this amazing father-son matchup. Let's get started. So we got Chunk Slug in the black trunks, playing as the son, playing as Sturm, against his dad, Carlos Summer, as Andy. So, these, again, we have to keep in mind, these are beginner level players, so I'm gonna try and give you advice whenever I can, if I see something egregious, something to improve your play. Playing on the cartridge in Advanced Wars is very different to playing competitively online, so there's a lot of things that you may not know, but I'll try my best to convey it to you guys. So far, I'm liking these openers right here. You're building infantry, you're both headed towards the neutral bases, so that's good. Maybe you're not complete beginners. So let's see. Yeah, so already here though, we see a little bit of a mistake. Although, so interestingly enough, so Carlos Summer here decides to capture the city instead of going for the base. I don't think he did so intentionally, but there are actually some openers on this map where you actually want to take this city because it allows you to get a tank out sooner. I don't think that's what Carlo did, though. I think he just captured the city because, yeah, income. But generally speaking, you want to try and go for this neutral base right here first, because the more neutral bases you get, the more bases you get, the more units you can produce. So already opening up with a mech here. Yeah, classic cartridge play. If you only played Advance Wars, like the original game, you might think mechs are insanely good, but they're actually really weak and competitive. They're slow, and they're not really that great. And you definitely don't want to build them early on because they're slower than infantry, which means they mess up your capture game. And it may be though that Carlo is building mechs because he's expecting Sturm Recons, and maybe it's not so bad actually. Although I think maybe saving up for a tank would be better. So, and already we have a base skip here from Carlo. So, Dad, if you're watching here, you never want to do this. You always want to produce units from your bases because you want to build up as many units as you can when you play Advance Wars. So, if you don't build a unit in the base, that's one less unit you're going to have for the entire game. Even if it's just an infantry. Infantry are incredibly good. So, try not to base skip. It's not very good. So, here we go. Sturm Recon moves out. It's not very dangerous, but it does move incredibly quickly. So and already here you're setting yourself up, Carlos. You're setting yourself up here for the recon to move onto the city and attack your mech. So you do need to be careful about that. You don't want to give him that engagement. Yes, sure, Sturm has less firepower, but you still want to make sure that he doesn't get to sit on a city, because that's 50% extra defense for him, which is kind of bonkers. But you do have a tank here to punish him if he goes for it, so it may not be so bad after all. So day 5 rolls in, and looks like, yeah, Chunk is just going to shift his recon to the left. And with 10k in the bank, I'm expecting him to maybe do a tank. He's going for the comm tower, which is nice. He's actually going for both comm towers. And a recon right here is also very solid, because the recon can interrupt this capture right here. Another recon, yeah. A Sturm, you really do want to be spamming your recons. It is incredibly powerful. So I don't blame you for doing this at all. So let's see, Carlo here moves out with his tank, builds a second tank right here. Definitely want to build a lot of tanks to counter Sturm's early recon. I don't know if you can hear that, but my wife is vacuuming outside my door. Sorry if it comes into the recording. So yeah, Chunk is going for the comm tower here. And he's using his recon to... This is really solid play right here by Chunk, using Sturm's movement to deny the comm tower. If he can somehow get both comm towers, he will now be at... He will now not have any penalty to his firepower, which is... That will make Sturm incredibly powerful. And again, just exploiting the movement of these recons to attack. Not doing a lot of damage, but just being incredibly annoying. Tank coming out right here. And let's see, Carlo decided to base skip again. So he's now down 2 units from what he could have. Oh, and he base skips, he builds a battlecopter and does a triple base skip. So I understand the inclination to get out a battlecopter, I really do, Carlo. But you should always build infantry whenever you can. Because look at you can already see that your son is racing ahead of you in terms of unit count. 11 to 15. So you're going to be outnumbered if you keep doing this. Generally speaking, you want to only build battlecopters when you have an income of 12k or more. Because that will allow you to build 1 battlecopter, 3 infantry. So 12k is like the magic number for a battlecopter. That way you can maximize your unit count and make sure you can beat your son. Don't take that too literally, please. So Chunk continuing to harass with his recons right here. Recon on recon violence, yeah. So Chunk, D just weeps right now. You should, generally speaking, not attack recons with other recons unless there's a good reason for it. It's just not good. I mean, you took as much damage as you dealt right here. So, and it just weakened your recon. So, generally speaking, unless there's a really good favorable engagement, you should try not to attack recons on recons, because you just want to save them for other things. I mean, sure, you had another recon here, but now that's damage too. So, just try to avoid it. It's just not worth it. And it's Andy, so you can just repair this up anyway. So another tank coming out here from Chunk. And Carlos gonna punish tried to go for the attack, but that was never gonna work. Not with Sturm's defense. Battlecopter coming in as well. And those Sturm recons incredibly hard to get rid of with their extra defense. And we got even more base skipping from Carlo at this point. Another tank. So you can already see how much Chunk's unit count is taking the lead here. And also, sadly, Carlo, you didn't put the mech in range of the tank, so it's not guarding it. So you're just gonna let yourself get first strike here. Generally speaking, when you have mechs are incredibly good at accompanying tanks and preventing, like, if this tank was down here, then the mech could have struck the tank attacking your tank. So you want to, I don't know if you play chess, but consider it similar to how, like, two pieces are guarding each other in chess. Like, if you move a knight out and you have a bishop guarding the knight, it's the same concept in Advanced Wars. You want to have your pieces guarding each other, so that way you could have punished this tank when it attacked you. But now, because the mech is out of position, your tank's just going to get struck, and it can't really do much. Now, of course, you are Andy, so if you can save this tank, if you can pull it back, you can heal it up later with a hyper upgrade. But you really need to go and capture this comm tower right now, because you really don't want to be low on firepower. Oh, interesting. Is that a combine? Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, so Chunk combines his recon. I'm not really sure why. I disagree with this. I think you should keep... 1 HP units are great for blocking. So you should keep this recon. You could also send it back to get repaired at a city. So don't do this. Like, just keep it. The 1 HP recon is really annoying. There's not much difference between an 8 HP recon and a 9 HP recon anyway, so... But at least you're pulling this recon back to get repaired, so that's good. Father and son, listen to me. Repairing units, incredibly good. Okay? Repairing units, you want to do it whenever you can, because it is a great way to keep your unit count high. So whenever a unit is injured, unless you need it for something, you should almost always pull it back to a city to repair it. So, but Chunk is playing really well here, actually. I think he's definitely better than his dad, because just he's utilizing all of his bases. So you can see his unit count is almost twice that of his father right now. But he has made one crucial mistake. He has built no anti-air, and now this battlecopter is going to have a field day harassing. So a decent turn here from Carlo. I think he made a lot of good attacks this turn. Attack the recon, attack the infantry. There's really nothing Chunka only has infantry here. This tank can basically just pick them all up. So this is pretty solid. Let's see what Chunk decides to do here. Ah, he kills off the tank, but thankfully though, there is a mech in the mountains, but Chunk can go for that with an infantry if he wants. So let's see what he decides to do. I would definitely attack the mech, I think. And now Chunk is threatening to take 2 comm towers, which is really bad. And the income of Chunk is also significantly higher right now, 16k to Carlos 13k. And when you play a Sturm, you're going to have an income advantage because your units are so mobile, they're able to reach cities quicker. And it's also very hard to interrupt Sturm captures because of the defense. So Sturm is always going to be a couple K ahead of his opponent in terms of income. And finally, we get a anti-air out here, which is good. And Carlo's doing a decent job. I'm sorry, I know it's Carlo, but I keep calling you Carlos. Oh, okay. We got a bomber, ladies and gentlemen, a bomber. Now, I do like bombers, says Andy, but once again, he keeps base skipping. He's 5k in the bank and base skipping, yeah. If you don't take one lesson away from this, Carlos, you need to stop base skipping. But I actually like bombers, says Andy, because, you know, you can attack anti-air, you can heal up the damage later with the repair-based powers. But right now, the big issue is that Chunk is just going to outnumber you. And Chunk even going for a bit of a cheeky capture right here. That's obviously not going to work, but the anti-air is coming out, so Carlo needs to get his battlecopter away. Ooh, it takes out the 1 HP tank. So in case you guys don't know, there's something called luck in Advanced Wars. So every unit deals 0 to 9% additional damage. That is why you can sometimes kill a tank with a recon, like this. The recon doesn't do a lot of damage at all. If we take a look at the actual damage calculation, it's probably in the single digits, 4 to 11. But the reason why it's 4 to 11 is because of the luck damage. So normally it would just deal 4, but it can deal up to 11 if you roll high. So that's why a recon is sometimes able to do this, even though it deals next to no damage. So just keep that in mind. You got to keep luck values in mind when you play Advanced Wars. Again, you guys might be aware of luck damage, but I figured I'd explain it to you like it's your first match. So, day 11 rolls in. You can see Carlo is now really outnumbered, 10 to 23 units. The bomber is flying out. So you gotta think about what you want to do with this bomber, because it is a very expensive unit, 22,000. If you just use it to kill infantry, it's not really going to be very valuable. It needs to kill vehicles. Now, the thing about bombers, if they catch Antire out in the open, they can actually smash them. In a forest, it's not so great, but let's say it's on a wood, then you can see that you can take basically 8 HP off the Antire. So if you can catch it out in the open, the bomber can be quite of an effective counter to it, but you do have to be wary of the Antire. And generally speaking, when your opponent is building a bomber, the best response is either a fighter out of the airport or 2 Antire, so they can guard each other. But yeah, Carlo doesn't want to let his son take a bunch of these properties right here. Goes for the interrupt as well. Good, pulling the Battlecopter back, and a medium tank. So when you play as Andy, tanking up to more advanced units is generally considered a very good strategy. This is because expensive units are harder to kill, and that makes it easier for you to pull them back and get a lot of value out of your repair-based power. So as Andy, you definitely want to do this. I'm not going to comment on the base skipping anymore because I feel like I've repeated myself too many times, but as Andy, yeah, you definitely want to go medium tank, neo tank, bomber. You want to go high-tech advanced units. Now, Carlo needs to be very careful here because his HQ might be exposed soon. And generally speaking, you don't really want to try and capture a property if there's lots of enemy vehicles in the area, because they'll just interrupt it. So it's probably better to just pull your units back in that case. Now, Chunk's Antire is woefully out of position here, so he definitely needs to build another one, or a fighter, if he wants to base skip. Continues to combine units together, which I don't like that much. But he is outnumbering his dad quite significantly. Yeah, there's 2 Antire, maybe a bit of an overreaction, but honestly, probably a good idea to get to threaten this bomber so he doesn't get to like do what he wants. But it has like 1 turn to harass some vehicles here. Medium tank rolling out here. This tank is just continuing to have an absolute field day. Yeah, this is another bad move. You don't want to attack from a base. You want to move off and build a new unit. But yeah, the bomber's killing another tank, which is great. Now, hyper upgrade is coming in very close right now. So you want to try and save as many injured units as you can. This recon right here, this battlecopter, you want to try and take some damage on your bomber even, so you can get some value out of the repair-based power. You can go for the Antire, for example, and then heal up the damage afterwards. You're not going to be able, like Carlo, you're not going to be able to push through here. Like, your son has too much stuff here, so you should just pull back. The concept of retreating is something that newer players struggle a lot with in Monsters. They think they just have to keep pressing the attack until their units die, but it's so much better to just pull your units back. Save your units. Just like in real wars, like, you don't want to attack into a doomed position, right? Every unit is valuable. So these units don't need to die here. You could have pulled them back last turn, and they would have lived. So, and now the recons are coming in. They're wrecking absolute mayhem. And now we really need to get an Antire on this right-hand side, because there's a battlecopter here from Chunk, and it's gonna be quite devastating. Look at the unit count difference right here, 25 to 10. But yeah, Carlos building a rocket and an artillery. I actually sort of agree with the artillery here. Because the artillery, you put it here, it defends the base, and if you get an Antire in addition here, but you shouldn't have built the rocket. Rockets can actually work on this map because of how many mountains and forests there are, but not against Sturm, because Sturm will catch them. Sturm's so fast, he's just gonna cycle around and kill them. But I actually agree with the artillery, because the artillery is a great, like, you plunk that artillery down in this wood, there, Chunk is not gonna be able to take this base from you, especially if you have an Antire or two, because he has no tanks, so there's nothing to threaten the Antire. But this battlecopter and this bomber have been very, very useful this entire game. They've gotten a lot of kills, actually. Remember I said at the start of this map, or start of this video, that air units are very dominant on this map because of all the mountains. It's just hard for Antire to catch them. Now, Carlo does have his hyper upgrade. Let's see if he's gonna use it next turn. Chunk also does have a meteor strike. Carlo might actually... Yeah, that's a problem right there. No anti-air. So that artillery... That artillery gets absolutely wrecked. And, yeah. It's quite a lot of damage right now. Wait, what? Oh my god, Chunk, you had a winning move here. So, Chunk, let me show you something. Actually, it probably wouldn't be a winning move because this battlecopter could interrupt. But you could have captured here and then put the tank here, and it would have blocked the medium tank. Of course, there's still this battlecopter that could interrupt it, but still. Carlo needs to be careful here. His HQ is very exposed. As day 14 rolls in, Carlo attacks on this. Yeah, Sturm tank on an HQ. So in case you don't know, guys, for every star that is listed on the terrain, you take 10% less damage, right? So cities are 30% less damage taken. HQ is 4 stars, has 40%. And defense stacks in a very powerful way in Advanced Wars. So Sturm's 20% day-to-day defense plus the HQ means he has 60% extra defense. And that is... Defense starts to stack up in a really insane way once you get above 50, because if you take 90% less damage, then you practically never die, right? So I think it's called multiplicative. I'm not a math guy, so forgive me if I use wrong terms here, but defense is very powerful. So that's why your tank dealt next to no damage against your son here, because stacking defense is really powerful on Advanced Wars by Web, and Advanced Wars in general. So here, Carlo, you really need to build an anti-air. Okay. Hyper upgrade. I want to take a look at how much value he got out of that. So, let's see. Yeah, probably could have saved that one. It heals the artillery, but the artillery isn't really doing anything this turn. Honestly, I think you could have just... Oh! I thought he popped his super. No, he actually popped his hyper repair. I was just about to say, I think the hyper repair actually is just as good in this situation. So I actually think this is a good move from Carlos. I think this is actually... He may not realize just how decent this move is, but I actually think it's really good because you don't really want to pop your hyper upgrade here, and you want to save power charge for the eventual meteor. So just popping a hyper repair to heal up some of your damaged units and get some extra defense is actually not a terrible move at all. Save some power, means the hyper upgrade is a little bit closer. But let's see what Chunk decides to do right now. Oh, you did put your bomber in anti-air range though, so that is a big shame. Yeah, shouldn't have done that. I mean, you might be able to heal it up later, but yeah, that's not great. And again, Carlos, you gotta build anti-air, man. Like, there's no other units than anti-air that can actually deal with this battlecopter. And now your base is getting taken over, so that's just... And there goes... Yeah, the rockets are also just not good against Sturm. Ooh, and now Chunk is camping the HQ. Yeah, this is not going so well for Dad here. Kinda getting schooled by your son, but hey, man. Still really cool that you're playing against your son. But yeah, he's kind of owning you right now. He's really wrecking you. Okay, saving the bomber for a rainy day. Let's see. Oh, and there's the base lock. There's the base lock and a joint cap. Ooh, it's not going well right here. Are we gonna see the meteor? The meteor would probably land here, I think. But I gotta say, Carlo has a lot of injured units, right? But yeah, this match is definitely lost at this point. I mean, it was lost like 10 days ago, just because of your unit count. But he's still holding out. He doesn't want to just give his son the win. Dad pride right here, kicking in. Ah, there comes the meteor strike. Yeah, that's a pretty devastating. That's actually not that devastating. But if he can kill off all the injured units, then he can deny his dad the repairs, which is exactly what he's doing. And yeah, at this point, I'd say it's probably just a cleanup. So yeah, no, Chunk did a good job here. There's still a lot of injured units left, but he killed off the ones that mattered. So that really limits what Carlos can do with this upgrade, with this upcoming superpower. Is he gonna pop it though? He has 6 units left. He's not popping it. There you go, hyper upgrade. So fighting valiantly right here, but yeah, now your son's gonna win in a matter of days, I think, regardless of what you do. This base is now his. He's capping your HQ. Yes, an anti-air is kind of out of position, so this bomber will be able to interrupt this infantry for a few more days. But I am expecting a resign here from Dad. But it seems like he just wants to keep going for a little bit longer. The HQ is going to get captured in 2 days here. Now the bomber goes down and the base is being captured. What is the capture limit for this game? Did they even set one? No, they didn't. Okay, because I'm pretty sure the match would have been over by now if they had capture victory enabled. Oh boy. He might actually rout his dad at this point. Captures again. He's going to do a joint cap. Gets rid of the battlecopter. Come on, Chunk. Do a joint cap. Beat your dad. There you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. So, this was a match for sure. I think I've already said several times, like, what you both need to work on is just, I mean, actually, Chunk, you play pretty well. I think it's very, very evident here that Chunk has watched some competitive play, but I think Carlos has not. So, first of all, try picking an evenly tiered CO if you want a more balanced match. Like, Dad was really fighting an uphill battle here from the start, playing a much weaker CO, but that's fine. But more than anything, though, I think just the base skipping was really what made Dad lose this match. Like, he just didn't utilize his bases. Always build units in your bases every time you play. That's just a rule of thumb with Advanced Wars. But you know what? I'm not really going to say that much more about this because, you know what? It doesn't matter. You know what mattered here? At the end of the day, father and son had a great match of Advanced Wars together, and they probably bonded a bit over playing it, and hopefully a bit more from watching this replay commentary. Chunk, you're so lucky to have a dad who played Advanced Wars with you. That's something I never had growing up. I mean, my dad is great, don't get me wrong. I love my dad, but he would never he would never play Advanced Wars. So, honestly, Chunk, you didn't just win the match, but you also won at life, because you have an awesome dad. A dad who sits down and plays a video game with you, and even plays to the very end and lets you win. That is something that is worth more than any victory or any kind of MMR online. So Chunk, Carlos, father and son, I hope you keep playing Advanced Wars together. If you do another match, I'm happy to cast it. I'd love to see both of you improve and get better at the game. Hell, maybe even queue up on the Global League and play some individual matches and help each other out. That would be really cool. You know, Advanced Wars by Web, 2v2 Global League. I'm just saying, what better way to enjoy quality time together as father and son by queuing up in 2v2s. Just food for thought, Advanced Wars by Web. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this wholesome match, give it a like. And let me know, have you ever played Advanced Wars with your parents or your son or daughter? I'd love to hear it in the comment section below. I hope that whenever I have kids and they grow up, I would be very happy if they actually wanted to play some Advanced Wars with me. They're probably just going to be busy playing modern games of whatever is popular in the future, but it would warm my heart if I could play Advanced Wars against my children someday. So, yeah, thank you for submitting the replay. I'm going to stop now before I get too sappy. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.